भरौ भुवि भुव भारा तारकौ
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Hare Krishna Maharaj.
धर्म संस्थापक लोकानां हितकारिणां त्रिभुवने मन्नं शरणं करो धर्म संस्थापक लोकानां हितकारिणां त्रिभुवने मन्नं शरणं करो धर्म संस्थापक Lokanang ito karinang Tribhuvane Manang Saranla Rau Sri Chaitanya Kripa Barau Lokanang Hitakarinang Tribhuvane Manang Sarana Karau
Then I'm not hearing you.
Atmavicharanaikangunam Dharma Samastapakam Lokanang Hitakarinang Tribhuvane Manang Sarunakaram Radha Krishna Radha Krishna Padarabindau Bhajanamritau Radha Krishna Padarabindau Bhajana Nandena Mattalika Vande Rupa Sanatanam Raghujugal Siji Krishna Kitana Gana Natala Parau Prema Manidhi Veera Veera Janapriya Nirma Pujita Sri Chaitanya
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Kabir. How are you?
Fine, Prabhu.
Should we wait for more people to come?
If you wait for more people to come, then they will keep on coming late.
Because I can see only just four.
Yeah.
I can see only 4 windows now.
Yes, Prabhu.
So maybe I can wait for another 5 minutes or so.
No problem, Prabhu. Then I can just continue playing Prabhupada Kirtan.
Okay. I'll wait for 5 minutes. I said 3:35.
Okay, Prabhu.
Okay. Let's see.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Okay, let's go.
Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Kavi.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, we are with you.
Okay, so we can start. Okay. Om Agyanat Vimandasya Gyanangana Salakaya Chatusu Militaya Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapita Yena Bhutale Sayarupa Kadamayan Dadati Swampadantikam Vandehan Sri Guru Sritam Padakamalam Sri Guru Vaishnava Vishya Sirupa Sagajata Sahagana Ragunata Vitata Sajivan Sadhata Savadata Parijana Saita Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devan Sri Radha Krishna Parasahagana Lalita Sri Vishwakavitam Sri Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagat Pati Gopesha Gopika Kanto Radha Kantana Masute Tata Kanchana Gorange Radha Vrindavaneshware Desabhanu Sutta Devi Panamami Hari Priye Krishna Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namah Dhamu Pujita Kadavota Paramoni Masram Satam Vedan Vastavam Atavastu Shivadon Tapatayo Molanan Shima Bhagavate Mahamani Kriteki Vai Para Iswara Sadhurudi Abharutita Kitivita Krishnam Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pistaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nibisesa Sunyabadi Pashcha Deshatarine Antakapatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhudaya Vacha Patetanam Pavanavibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namah Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I thank everyone who are here. Hopefully we should get more people to this special session of the discussions on the beginning part of the Uddhava Gita, where Lord Krishna is enlightening his dear devotee Uddhava, giving me a message to send to the sages at the Badarika ashram. So I already spoke about this last week. And of course today is also a special day because today is the disappearance day of Srila Jiva Goswami. So Srila Jiva Goswami is one of the 6 Goswamis, so who actually define the concepts, the precepts of the Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Because Chaitanya Prabhu himself, when he is Krishna himself, so when he came 500 years ago, he inaugurated the Sankirtan Jaga, Sankirtan movement. But Lord Chaitanya Prabhu did not leave any literature behind. Normally, whenever any acharya or the Sampradaya acharya or any new spiritual process is established, normally the founder, they normally write so many scriptures behind. But Chaitanya Prabhu, who's the incarnation of the age, who inaugurated the method of worship of Krishna for this age is through Nam Sankirtan. So he did not write any book. However, his 6 main principal followers, the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, who are Srila Rupa Goswami, Srila Sanatana Goswami, Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, Srila Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Gopal Bhatta Goswami, and Srila Jiva Goswami. So these are the 6 Goswamis who actually wrote tremendous amount of literature for the benefit, for the enlightenment of the people of Kali Yuga, and especially which established the process of Krishna Bhakti. So especially Srila Jiva Goswami, he played practically one of the most important role. He was a direct disciple of Srila Rupa Goswami. And of course, he was also a nephew of Srila Rupa Goswami. So which means he got all the training from Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Sanatana Goswami. And Srila Jiva Goswami, he wrote all the principles, literatures of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. The principal among them being the Sandarbhas. There are 6 Sandarbhas. These are called 6 Sandarbhas. So these 6 Sandarbhas, these are the treatises which actually explains the science of Srimad Bhagavatam. So which means you will not really understand Bhagavatam fully until you actually study the Sandarbhas. So we start from, you have Tattva Sandarbha, you have Bhagavat Sandarbha, you have Krishna Sandarbha, you have Paramatma Sandarbha, you have Bhakti Sandarbha, and then there is a Priti Sandarbha. So these are 6 Sandarbha, by which were all elaborated upon by Srila Jiva Goswami. And then he also wrote books like Gopal Champu, which explains the Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. He wrote that. And many other books also, like the grammar, the Sanskrit grammar, how to learn Sanskrit by using Lord Krishna's various names. This is called it's called Harinamamrita Vyakaranam. So there are 2 volumes, it's 2 volumes of book, Harinamamrita Vyakaran, whereby instead of, normally, traditionally, when people want to study the Sanskrit grammars, they use Panini. Panini is like the standard text for studying the Sanskrit grammar. But Srila Jiva Goswami, he instead of the devotees wasting their time studying the Sanskrit grammar, using the quotes of Panini, so he wrote another one in the form of Vyakaranam. Vyakaranam means grammar. Harinamamrita Vyakaranam. So he wrote this Harinamamrita, which means by drinking the nectar of the holy name of Krishna, of the Lord, one can also study the Sanskrit grammar. So therefore, every single alphabet, it's with the Lord's name. Like what is R? R means this. R means what is R, B, B. Like for those who have studied the Sanskrit, and then the different grammatical, like vibhaktis, of course you have to spend your time studying the Sanskrit. So it's very, very interesting that by the time one actually finish reading through all these different explanations, which like Jiva Goswami had composed, one will actually become a master in Sanskrit. So, and there are many other books he wrote, like Sankapa Druma. He also wrote a very elaborate commentary on the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Vaishnava Toshani, very elaborate commentary which he wrote, and some of his principal ideology is that, of course, this topic was a little bit more esoteric because the Srila Jiva Goswami, he had 2 principal followers in Vrindavan. Some of his followers, they accept the fact that Krishna, like there are 2 types of relationship that one can have with the Lord. One is called the Swakya, another one is a Parakya. Swakya means in terms of marriage with Krishna, just like the queens of Dwarka, they were married to Krishna. This is Swakya. And then Parakya method is a relationship, is a paramour. Like one have a paramour, which means it's not a married marriage. There's no marriage there, but there's what they call the lovers, the paramour. Normally, the gopis of Vrindavan, they are paramours. It's called a parakya bhav. So there's no marriage there. But so Srila Jiva Goswami, he wrote, he presented his teaching in such a way that his followers, because he had different type of followers, so they have to have a different type of understanding. Just like many people here in Vrindavan, they understand that yes, actually Radha Krishna, they actually married. That yes, there was a marriage of Radha Krishna, and the Lord Brahman himself was the one who officiated the marriage ceremony. So that is there. Especially when you read the book of Gopal Champu, also many things you will come to know about how the elderly Gopas, they actually wanted their daughters to be married to Krishna. Again, of course, Krishna is the husband of everyone, So he's the husband of all the ladies, and the gopis, they were singing Jayati Tedikan, Jamana Braja, Swayati Indira, Sasada Trahe. So the gopi, they are saying that, oh Krishna, you have manifested yourself in this universe, and you've made this place of this Vrindavan, you make it glorious by your appearance. So Srila Jiva Goswami, He wrote so many things. And also he was the guru of many of the of our acharyas. Now, when I say guru means he was their Siksha guru, because he himself, he did not really initiate anyone. He did not give Diksha, but he gave Siksha. So he trained quite a bit of numbers of personalities. The majority of them being like Srila Narottam Das Thakur, Srila Shamananda Prabhu, Srila Srinivasa Acharya, and so many others who he gave them Siksha. He gave them training. And of course, he gave them training to make them establish the Krishna consciousness. But at the same time, he had them initiated by different gurus, because he himself did not give anyone Diksha. Now, that doesn't mean that he wasn't qualified to give anyone Diksha. Just like I was hinting last week that the most important is actually the Siksha, not so much of the Diksha. Because the 6 Goswamis, Srila Rupa and Srila Sanatana Goswami, they never initiate anyone they never give anyone Diksha. It's always Siksha by which they give the people, not Siksha. So we should always keep that in our mind. So we have one book called Vaishnava Bharata, which and also another one is Bhaktamal. This book that describe various histories, various life of the different Vaishnavas. So which means that it's actually good for us to try to understand the life of various Vaishnavas. So on a day like this, which is the disappearance day of Srila Jiva Goswami, so it mentioned that on every appearance and disappearance of great Vaishnavas, we always have to remember them and say something about them. That this is called Vaishnava Smriti. Smriti means to remembrance. Say something about them, remember them, and also, of course, we pray for their mercy. We pray for their mercy, because it's not that we cannot get mercy from the previous acharyas. We can get mercy from the previous acharyas. Like Srila Bhakti Thakur, he was saying that the acharyas of the past, they can actually continue because they're always present also. So they always give you their blessing to the inquiring spirits, inquiring persons. So we can always pray for their mercy. We can always pray for their benediction. So this is very, 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 very important day in our temples, especially here in Vrindavan. It's been celebrated, and especially tomorrow, we're going to be having a big Nam Sankirtan tomorrow in Vrindavan at Radha Damodar temple, because Radha Damodar is the deity of Srila Jiva Goswami, which is the place of his bhajan in Vrindavan. So tomorrow there's going to be a very big Nam Sankirtan tomorrow. So which means different Vaishnavas of all the Sampradayas, they will all be congregating tomorrow morning at the Radha Damodar temple, and then there's going to be a big procession to commemorate the disappearance of Srila Jiva Goswami. So Srila Jiva Goswami ki jai. So back to our main discussion of the 24 gurus. As let me see I get this thing right. 24 guru, copy link. I'm still a novice about sharing the screen.
You can share. Already I've give you permission to share. You can share it.
Okay, share screen. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right, I can see that now. Okay. So, I'm not, this is, technology is, people like myself, anyway, still learning, not like you guys. So you can see the screen, right?
By playing with it, it's easier to learn. We just play around with it. That is how we learn also.
The screen, you can see the screen? Okay, play from currently. So we have 24 gurus, and last week we discussed the two gurus, I think the earth and the wind. The earth and the wind, that was discussed last week. So today we, what happened? All right. So we're going to go, and of course, again, when the go as I mentioned before, I was quoting Lord Krishna's when he was instructing whatever. No, is it? Yeah, the person must. Okay. All right. Okay. Am I okay? Okay. So Lord Brahman, Lord Krishna was telling Uddhava, Lord Brahmaji, that etaba deva jigyasya, tajwa gigyan sunatmana, amvaya vyatri kabyan, yatsya sabata sabada, that yes, a person who is searching for the truth must search it in a very vast way, and this must be done in all places, in all circumstances, both direct and indirect way. So which means we search for the absolute truth through direct method and also through indirect methods. So as we come to learn from the Abadut Brahmana, how he attains self-realization by accepting 24 persons, 24 things, not only a person, 24 things, elements as his spiritual master, by learning through the characteristics. And so by learning, and some of those things as we are going through these 24 gurus, some of them may be negative things, which means some things to avoid, some things to just sin, especially when we see the suffering of the living entities, what to learn from a particular circumstance. So this is something that the Avadhuta Brahmana is discussing with Yadu Maharaj. So yes, last week we talked about the wind and the earth. From the earth, he learned how to be tolerant, because the earth, despite being exploited by humanity, still the earth is still sustaining everyone. So always, earth never protests, always sustaining everyone. So therefore, the act of tolerance is being learned from the earth. Now, and then he also mentioned, I don't have the slide for this one, what he has learned from the tree and mountain. So Avadhuta Brahmana said, Sashwat, Parata Sadeha, Parata Ikankat Sambhabaha, Sadhu Sikshita Bo Brito Naga Sishya Paratmatnam. He said, an intelligent person, I'm reading from Uddhava Gita, this book Uddhava Gita, which is what I have here, but he also, if you have 11th Canto Bhagavatam, 11th Canto chapter 7, this is where the Uddhava Gita begins from. And I'm reading from chapter 7 of Srimad Bhagavatam 11 Canto, starting from text number 38. So and then I'll be going from there. So I mentioned here that an intelligent person should learn from the mountain how to devote himself to the service of others, making their welfare the sole purpose for his existence. This is also the lesson to be learned as a disciple of the tree. So two things, the mountain and the tree. So these are two elements by which Avadhuta Brahmana have accepted as guru. That's to be learned from the mountain, which means devoting oneself to the service, how to devote oneself to the service of others. So we can see that the mountains and the trees, they give selfless service to all living entities. So Srila Vishnu Chakravarti said in this commentary, he said two features of the earth are mentioned here, the mountains and the trees. The trees. Now, what does one learn from the mountain? The mountain sustains the earth, produces streams that supply water, and produces various jewels. All these are meant for others' benefits. In the same way, all activities of a saintly person should be performed with the aim of benefiting others. This should be the nature of the devotees. Similarly, if someone uproots a tree and plants it somewhere else, the tree accepts it without any protest. One learns to do good to others from the tree. Therefore, a yogi should become like a tree. These are the teachings one should learn from the mountain and the tree. So which means about the act of benefiting others. You know, the mountains is there. You go to the mountain, you can see all kinds of minerals that which one can use for the benefit, for the bodily sustenance. The mountains produces water, produces cave, you know, especially the yogis, sometimes the yogis, when you know they are in the Himalayas. So their place of existence, where their place of residence is usually in the mountain caves. See? So the mountains, the trees, their existence is simply how to benefit others. So similarly, also a devotee or a saintly person should say that his whole purpose of existence is for the benefit of others. That's why a pure devotee is classified as a paradukkha, that is very unhappy when others are not happy, and is very, very happy when others are happy. So this is a saintly person. A saintly person is known by his act of generosity. Even though just like we have the case of Srila Prabhupada, who, even though he was already situated in the highest stage of spiritual feeling, spiritual existence or ecstasy, but he gave that up. He left India, he came outside India, he went to the West just to give Krishna consciousness to others. So without his own personal, what is beneficial for him, you know, and also he did that at a very old age, you know, at the age of, he was 70 years old when he came. Nobody go out to try to do something at the age of 70. I mean, like people like myself, many of us like this, we are in our 60s, and we're already feeling, you know, tiredness. Like, you know, everyone, we're all thinking, okay, maybe I'm just going to stop someplace, just going to retire in one place, you know, maybe do writings, do bhajan, this, that, you know. But Srila Prabhupada, he was 70 years old, and then he left Vrindavan. Vrindavan is this one that people coming to Vrindavan to stay, to do meditation, to do bhajan, to focus their attention on Krishna. But Srila Prabhupada gave all this up because he was thinking about how to benefit the conditioned souls. You see, people are suffering, especially when you read when Srila Prabhupada, when he arrived in New York in 1965, and he composed the poems when he was on just before he came off the Jaladuta ship. So he wrote that poem, you know, that, oh my dear Krishna, I don't know why you have brought me here to this hellish place. You know, I can see people are so in a deep ignorance, but they think that they are happy. They think they are happy. But anyway, I'm sure you have some business here. So therefore, I'm simply your instrument. I'm simply your instrument. And if you like, you can make me dance. I'm simply your puppet. The child said, Martin, the child said, make me dance, make you dance as you wish. So this is how the pure devotees, how they give up their particular life for the benefit of other living entities. So the three mountains, they show the example of how to benefit others. So we should always be thinking that way. So which means this should remove from our existence in terms of selfishness. A devotee should never be selfish. Actually, in many scriptures, selflessness is always been taught in all the scriptures. Selflessness. It's only when we become selfless that's the only way we can actually relish the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. Like the Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, he said, Namruchi Jivedaya. He said that develop taste for the holy name and be compassionate upon the conditioned souls, upon the jivas. But how can we develop taste for the holy name if you don't have compassion, if you don't have tolerance, if you don't have in terms of the selflessness by which we can benefit the whole humanity? Right now, why the whole world is in trouble? The whole world is so chaotic nowadays. The whole world is chaotic. It doesn't matter Africa, Europe, America, everywhere. The whole world is chaotic. Why is it the whole world is chaotic? Because everyone is only thinking of what is good for themselves. Everyone's thinking only what is good for themselves. Selfishness. Nobody's thinking in terms of what is good for the other person, how to benefit others, how to live a life of sacrifice. Nobody think of that. It's only what is good for me. So, of course, this is due to the lack of spiritual knowledge, due to the lack of Christian consciousness. That's why, so therefore, people are selfish. But once people become Christian conscious, then they will learn how to become selfless. And it's only through that selflessness can we actually benefit the whole world. We're talking of a world peace. We cannot world. I can have world peace when everyone is so selfish. There can be no such a thing as having the peace. Peace comes when there is selflessness. That's when the peace comes. So now we go further. Our little Brahman now is going what the next guru is the sky. Tejo Biana Mayai Bava Metia Vayu Neri Tahai Nas Pistate Navas Ta Dot Kala Sistai Gunai Puman. So this was the Hare Krishna.
Please, Prabhu,
can you hear me?
I can hear you. Just a quick suggestion. When you are going to be speaking for a long time, you can stop the sharing so that we can always be seeing your face. Because,
okay.
If
anybody see my face?
No. We are only seeing the bigger screen. But when you
you cannot see my face.
We are seeing your face, but it's a small box, and in the YouTube it's going to be like that. But once you are going to be speaking for a long time, you can stop sharing. Then when you want to share again, you click share again.
Oh, I see. Okay, I can get used to that one. Okay, so the sky, you mentioned here, you can read it and see on the screen, that although powerful winds blow clouds across the sky itself is never disturbed. In the same way, the spirit soul is not transformed by contact with material nature.
We're not seeing it, Prabhu.
Oh, you're not seeing this one?
You are not sharing it. You are not.
Okay.
You should go next.
Let me see. 1 second. Interesting. Resumes share. Can you see?
You know what you do, Prabhu?
Yeah.
On your screen, you will see the icon there, play from start. Click on that. Then you'll be using the next button, next button, next button.
Well, I did that, and let me see. Hare Krishna, let me see.
If you are sending me this, I will have been following up. I can share it for you. Now we can see next.
All right, I guess so. Now you see this one. I guess I'm not gonna play I guess I will not play this one then. Okay, this you can see the screen?
Yeah, we can see it now.
Okay, and you can see me also?
Yeah, we can see you.
Okay. All right. So here it says, although powerful winds blow across the sky itself is never disturbed. In the same way, the spirit soul is not transformed by contact with material nature. Although the spirit soul is awarded a body made of earth, water, and fire, and although its actions are dictated by the three modes of material nature, which are products of eternal time, its eternal nature is never affected. So this is basically the science of the soul, whereby the nature that the spirit soul has got a particular nature. This we have learned again and again. This we have learned again and again. That's his nature, the soul, which is always eternal. So the sky is mentioned here that the sky, so many winds blow across the sky. All kinds of winds. It can be hurricanes or whatever, tornadoes, typhoons, whatever it blows across the sky. But we see that the nature of the sky itself does not change its nature. The sky is always there. Even though there may be so many mighty winds blowing across the skies and all that, still, the sky is still the same thing. Still the same. So similarly also, the spirit soul, even though the body, which is made up of 8 elements, like Lord Krishna said, so Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna that yes, there are 8 elements, which consists of my separated material energy, which is earth, water, fire, ether, air, sky, mind, intelligence, mind, and force ego. These are the 8 elements, which consists of the gross material and subtle material elements. So the body, this is the composition of the material body, and the spirit soul is inside the body. Once the spirit soul enters the material world, so it becomes a captive audience. So it becomes bondage inside the material body. However, even though the soul is there within the material body, and of course, the actions of the soul is normally dictated by the threefold material nature, and that determines in terms of the destination in one body to another body. But the nature of the soul is always there. That itself is never affected. And what is the nature of the soul? It's eternal. It's Sachit Ananda, the eternal form, full of knowledge and full of bliss. But that bliss comes when there's a realization. So in the Vedanta Sutta, it says Ananda Mayubhyasat. Ananda Mayubhyasat means that the very nature of the soul is that it's always blissful. That's the very nature of the soul. But that nature, of course, is covered while in the material world. Discovery is only there, but the self, even though it's covered while in the material world, still, it doesn't mean that that nature can be lost. That nature can never be lost. The covering is basically due to ignorance. And once the ignorance is removed, then the nature of the soul will shine, will manifest. But the Avadhuta Brahman is learning that, yes, just like the sky is not affected by any movement or various elements like the mighty winds or whatever, fire, whatever, still, the nature of the soul, the sky is always there. The sky is there. It's never affected by those movements. Similarly, also, the soul also is not affected by the movement of the, by the movement of the material nature, of the material energy. Let me just say here. Okay. Now, we go to the next guru. So we learn something from the sky. Now, before this one. So another text that follows this one. Okay.
You can share it.
That follows this one. Huh? Okay. So it mentioned here. Now this is the subsequent to the verse which I just read in terms of the nature of the soul. So it mentioned that Swacha Prakita Snigdo Baduya Stita Buninam Monim Punati upon Nitron Ikshopashepas Kaitanai. That okay, a saintly person is naturally pure, free from all contamination, well behaved, and a benefactor of all human beings. Just by seeing, touching, or hearing such an exalted soul, one is purified, okay. One is cleansed by bathing with pure water. So now we are going to learn now from the another guru. Let me see. So the water. Can you see the water?
You're not sharing it, Prabhu. You have to share it.
Sorry, I'm not so.
No problem, Prabhu. No problem. Everything starts from somewhere. You just have to click share and share it again.
Okay. Yes. All right. So anyway, you can read it. So I think you can see that. Now the next guru is water. So the next guru is the water. You can see this, right?
Yes,
this
Prabhu.
Can be seen?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. So it mentioned here that a saintly person is naturally pure, free from all contaminations, well behaved, and a benefactor of all human beings. Just by seeing, touching, or hearing such an exalted soul, one is purified, just as one is cleansed by bathing with pure water. A saintly person, like a holy place of pilgrimage, purifies all those who meet him, because he's always engaged in chanting the glories of the Lord. So it mentioned here that a saintly person is compared to the water, the quality of water, because the water is not by its purity. Actually, the water is always pure. So, and of course, the water, it benefits, our bodies are made up of. Majority of our composition of our bodies is made up of water. So a pure devotee, a saintly person, is compared to a water, because just by seeing him, by being near him, a pure devotee purifies all those that comes in contact, with person. Like sometimes people go. It's very common that people travel to many places of pilgrimage. People go to places of pilgrimage just to purify themselves. People go to Vrindavan, or they go to Ayodhya, they go to Haridwar. Many places of pilgrimage are there here in India. So people travel such a long distance just to go there to be purified. But what is the value of such traveling to this place, that place, if one does not associate with the pure devotees of the Lord? The pure devotees of the Lord, they are they are called, they are the place of pilgrimage personified. They actually personify the place of pilgrimage. Titi Stani Titani, Titi Yanti, that the place of the pure devotees, they are like the personified place of pilgrimage. Because by coming in contact with them, one actually becomes purified. Now, he mentioned that if people won't bathe in the Yamunas, the Ganges, the many other rivers. So people would bathe in those rivers and to dump their sins. Because usually when you bathe in the Yamuna, when you bathe in the Ganga, you can be purified of your sins, which means you dump all your sins into the water of the Ganges or the Yamuna. So which means Yamuna is polluted or Ganga is polluted. So how does the river Ganges, now who clear all those sins, all those amount of sins which have been deposited in the Ganges and Yamuna? Who clear them? So when the pure devotees of the Lord, the saintly persons, when they bathe in the holy rivers, when they bathe in them, so they actually cleanse the holy river. They actually cleanse them. They actually purify the Ganges. They purify the Yamuna, but they are bathing in those rivers, in those holy rivers. So which means that to be with pure devotees is much more advantageous than just traveling to this place of pilgrimage, that place or that place. It's actually described to be just parishram is useless labor. If one just travel you go to Vrindavan, go to Rishikesh, all these places, and you don't associate with the place with the pure devotees. You don't associate with saintly devotees. So it's considered to be just a waste of time. The main purpose of traveling to all these places of pilgrimage is to be able to hear from the saintly persons, to be able to hear from them. That's the whole main purpose of traveling to the place of pilgrimage. Which means we don't go there just for sightseeing. Like Prabhupada will say that don't come to Vrindavan with a ticket. You come to Vrindavan to associate with pure devotees of Krishna. Then you can really get the benefit. So, but if you are fortunate enough to have pure devotees around us, then our life is become auspicious. So therefore, the pure devotees, they are compared to the water. So therefore, the purity, the water which signifies purity. So therefore, we should take advantage of saintly associations. That's the only way we can be rid of all our anarthas. Service them. That's the only way we can get rid of all of our anarthas, and that's the only way by which we can make advancement in Krishna consciousness. That's the only way. So this is the one guru, the water. Then the next guru is the fire. So the next guru is the fire. We know that fire burns everything. He mentions here that the saintly persons have become powerful by the execution of austerities. They do not endeavor to enjoy anything material of this world, and they accept food offered to them by destiny. If by chance they eat some contaminated food, they are not affected, just like fire, which burns up all contaminated substance that are offered to it. So this is very, very important here, which means we have to see ourselves, which means we cannot compare ourselves to the great devotees. So he mentioned that in Tejasvi Tapasya do Dasudara Bhajana, Sarabhakshyo Pi Yuktatma, Nandate Malam Agnivat, Agni, the fire. So the fire digests the food that enters the stomach. So those who are fire, like yogis, should not, because this is some instruction which have been given. So Slabaksidanta is saying, I just read something from Slabaksidanta, who had made a comment on this, He said that the lessons to be learned from fire have been described in this verse. There are 3 more verses after this. So it's mentioned that with fire burns everything, it remains unaffected. Fire doesn't become contaminated. Rather, it purifies everything. Similarly, simply persons, even though given the opportunity to enjoy material objects, do not do so, but instead remain unattached. They are always transcendental. They are always transcendentally situated, and so they do not take pleasure in temporary material objects. This is the characteristics of self-realized souls. Such persons do not accumulate things unnecessarily. They accept things only to the extent as it is necessary for their maintenance, and that also without attachment. Saintly persons are always free from the contamination of sinful activities, and thus they are the true moralists. They are not attracted to anything of this visible world, being driven by insatiable greed to attain spiritual perfection. These are the qualities to be learned from fire. So fire is another guru. So, fire does not, actually fire never get contaminated. Rather, fire purifies anything. Fire actually burns up everything that it comes in contact with. So similarly also the great devotees, the saintly devotees, they are like fire. They are like fire. Anything that it comes in contact with, they purify. Now it doesn't mean that we should not be. This means that we should not imitate the great devotees. The great devotees, they can accept material things, but we have to know that they accept material things solely for the service of Krishna, and they are never contaminated by it. Normally, if you never devotees get any kind of material object, attachment comes in there. You won't actually become polluted. And that's why most of the time we mention that we should not be so eager to go and accept food which are offered by the materialistic people. Like sometimes, you are preaching here in some countries. I know in my early days of pioneering, so most of the time when we are traveling, we will get invited by some rich business person. They will invite us to come and eat. They will prepare elaborate food, by which we eat. I remember when I used to travel in the Southern Africa, whereby we have so many wealthy Indians who will prepare for us elaborate preparations. So much food, we can't even imagine it. And then we just, as new devotees, I was only in the movement maybe a few years. So we'll be consuming that, very, very tasty food. We'll be eating them, Of course, the result of that, of course, is that you become agitated, you become fat, and all these things. But the pure devotees, so they can accept the same, but they do not become agitated. They're not really affected by it. But if you're a near devotee who accepts such food stuff, because the person who's offering the food, that person is transferring to you his sinful activities. It is transferring to the reaction to his sins, because this is what we call a Brahman Bhojan. Brahman Bhojan means when an Asuda invites devotees or sadhus to his home for prasad, for food. By doing so, the reaction of his sinful activity is being transferred to those, to those persons, to those sadhus who he had invited. So, which means if you're not an advanced devotee and you accept such food, so you become contaminated by it. So that's why it's actually one of our regulatory principles that yes, we should not accept food which is being offered by the materialistic people. We should not accept it. But however, sometimes the pure devotees, because they're like fire, because they want to benedict everyone, sometimes they may accept such. They may accept such, but they're not affected by it because they're just like fire. So we should not imitate such pure devotees. Like one time, devotees, they were in India, bonded with Srila Prabhupada. When Prabhupada came to India with a lot of Western devotees. So there was one well-wisher, very pious lady, normally in India, the people are very pious. So one pious lady had invited the Prabhupads and devotees to her house for food, for prasadam. Now, the food is being served by the lady, by all her servants. They are serving the food. And the part of the food, devotees noted that there are some onions there. There's some onions in the food. So devotees told Prabhupada that what should they do? This is perplexing. There are some onions in this. What should be done? So devotees are asking Prabhupada what to do because they want to eat the food because the onion is there because we don't eat onions, we don't eat garlic and all that. But Prabhupada said that yes, we have to make the woman happy. She had invited us as well. So Prabhupada said, accept it. So Prabhupada told the devotee to accept it only for that particular circumstance. Because the pure devotee, they see things differently. Because, they may take risk which ordinarily we should not be taking. So therefore, Prabhupada said, okay, devotee should make this lady happy. Okay, you can take you can take it. That doesn't mean that we should be doing the same. We go to the people's house and we start consuming all kinds of food, especially food with onions, with garlic, No, we do that, we become contaminated because we don't have such purity, we don't have such power. We don't have such power like fire that can burn up, anything. We don't have such thing. So which means we should never imitate the pure devotees. If you do imitation, then we get into trouble. So which means we learn that by learning something from the fire, it gives us that, okay, we have to have a regard for the great personalities, which means we should never compare ourselves to them. We should never think that we are on the same platform as the great devotees and trying to do things that they can do because they can take certain risk. I think one time one person, he went to Puri to meet Chaitanya Prabhu because he had seen some characteristics of Lord Nityananda Prabhu. Because Lord Nityananda Prabhu, he was an Abhadutta. And for the benefit of the merchant, when he was preaching, he had accepted so many dress, so many expensive jewelries in his body, gold. He was decorated with all kinds of jewelry, all kinds of things. So this is the way Lord Nityananda Prabhu, this was his move to accept the offering. So this particular Brahmana, he was saying that Nityananda Prabhu was supposed to be sannyasis, a Gosai. So how come he was decorating himself with all these expensive ornaments, all these rare ornaments? So he went to Chaitanya Prabhu in Puri. He went there to express his doubts that these characters of Chaitanya of Lord Nityananda cannot be. It's not understandable. So he went there to express his doubts to Chaitanya Prabhu. And then Chaitanya Prabhu, they started instructing him that yes, the great personalities, they have such qualities that any ordinary person cannot imitate them. Because if you try to imitate the particular characteristics of the great personalities, then you become affected by it. You become consumed by the reaction. Achyutama Prabhu, of course, gave the example of the 6 sons of Brahman. Lord Brahmaji, he had 6 grandsons. These sons, they were the sons of Marichi. Marichi was one of the direct sons of Brahma. So one time when Lord Brahma, he was chasing his daughter in the form of a deer. He became kind of agitated, and he was chasing his daughter. So these 6 sons of Marichi, they started laughing at Lord Brahmaji. They started laughing. They started pointing finger at Lord Brahma. So, because they dare do that, they dare point finger at Lord Brahma, they dare criticize Lord Brahma. What happened is that they take birth in a circumstance, they take birth in a circumstance where they had to be killed by Ravan, by Hiranyakashipu, and ultimately they had to be killed by cancer. You see, so they actually suffer a repercussion for criticizing such a great personality as Lord Brahma. So therefore, like Mahaprabhu said, that the activities of great personality should never be criticized. Should never be, because the great personalities, they are like fire. So we cannot imitate their characteristics. You know? So which means certain things we can follow, the certain things we cannot follow. You know, certain things we can follow, of course, even though we heard that, okay, we should follow the example of great personalities. We should. But there are certain things you cannot imitate. Examples you can follow, but you cannot imitate some of their actions. Because if you try to imitate some of their actions, you become contaminated, you become affected. These are some of the subtleties of the, you know, of spiritual life. You know, just like, for instance, Lord Shiva, he can do so many things. Lord Shiva, he stays in crematorium. He goes around naked. He puts ashes all over his body. But can you imitate Lord Shiva? No, you can't. You can't. Lord Shiva drank poison. Lord Shiva drank the ocean of poison. But can you drink poison? Can you drink poison and survive? No. Lord Shiva can do that, but you cannot do that. So similarly, also the mood of great personalities can be followed, but their particular actions cannot be followed. Their particular actions cannot be imitated. So that's why it's always been advisable that sometimes one should not be too familiar with great personalities. One should not be too familiar with them, even though the great personalities, they make themselves easily available to everyone. You know, they don't make any distinction. He said that Dira Jana Priya Priya Karo, like those who are Dira means those who are sober, and also those who are rough, Adira, those who are ruffians. But the great personality, they associate with them equally. Dira Jana Priya Priya Karo, the persons who are very rough, ruffians, and those who are very, very, gentle. The great personality they associate with them, they make themselves available to everyone. You see? But it doesn't mean that one should be familiar with them. Rather, one should be in a service mode. One should always be in a servitude mode towards them. And that's the only way by which we can make a spiritual benefit, we can make a spiritual advancement. So therefore, the example of the fire is very, very important. So which means you should have a very big regard to great personality, to great devotees. You should have a big regard towards them. Don't imitate their actions, but we follow the example in terms of how they are practicing Christian consciousness. So we start to understand the subtle aspect of this. So that is it looks like Now, let me try to go to, I think the time is, okay. Now, the next one is the moon. The moon is another guru. The moon. Visag Gadiha Smastanancha Baba. Dehasya Natmana. Let me see if I can. Okay, share screen. Okay. I will get used to this. So the moon is another guru. What happened here? I'm sharing it. Guru. I don't know if you can see. It's mentioned here. Vishaya Dige, Smasnanta Baba Dehasya Natmana. Kalanam Iva Chandrasya Kalina Vakyata Batmana. That the stages of one's bodily condition, beginning with birth and ending with death, have no effect upon the eternal soul, just like our vision of the waxing and waning of the moon does not affect the moon itself. Such changes occur due to the imperceptible movement of time. So, like the moon, okay. The moon, like normally the period of the moon is twice a month. Going north, going south, like in the waning moon, when the sun is bright and also when it's dark. So we say that the moon is there. Sometimes we have the moonlight, and sometimes we have the dark night. Normally for 2 weeks there's a moonlight, and then for 2 weeks there's a dark night. So that's the nature of the moon. That's it goes there. But however, does it mean that the moon changes? No, the moon does not change. It's our circumstance that changes. So which means depending on what part of earth, what part of environment you are, you will see the changing, you will see the movement of the moon. But the moon stays in one place only. It is you who's changing around the moon. So similarly also, the nature of the spirit soul is that the soul is always the same. The so-called birth, death, old age, and disease is there, that is there, which is the constitution of this material world. But the soul always remain the same. The soul does not die. Only the body dies. This philosophy, we heard again and again, especially from the beginning part of the Bhagavad Gita. When Lord Krishna said that, he said, Dehi no shmiyata dehe, ko mara yuvananjara, tata dehantara prapte, that the soul is undergoing through different, from birth, from the youth, from the childhood to youth to old age, like that. Again, and then there's a death. Again, there's another birth. So in this way, the transformation goes on. It goes on, another birth, and that goes eternally, according to the karma by which the jiva has accumulated. But that transformation is only applied only to the material body. That transformation does not apply to the soul. The soul itself is always remain the same eternally. The soul does not change. Only the bodily characteristics that change. So which means if we lament for the soul, this is due to ignorance only. Due to ignorance we lament. But for one who's in knowledge, does not lament. It says that only what is changing is just the body, but the soul is always the same. So by just saying the characteristic of the moon, that the moon is changing, if you just observe that we say that the moon is changing, is the moon actually changing? No, it's me, it's the circumstances around me that is changing. The moon it remains the same. But somehow, under illusion, we are thinking that, the moon is becoming bright or the moon is becoming dark. No. That's not the case. So the monk is accepted to be one of the guru. So I'm going to, because of the I think is some maybe some questions, some comments, some questions, some observation here. Some clarity is required. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna devotees, if you have a question, please raise your hand. Or you can unmute yourself as well.
So they can unmute themselves and ask questions. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, we are with you.
Okay. So does anybody have anything to ask?
We are waiting for the hands to be up. Okay. Sadi Prabhu wants to ask question. Sadi Prabhu, please unmute yourself.
Okay. Hare Krishna, you can ask your question.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
All right. Thank you for the seminar. I have one quick question. Did the Avanti Brahmana, well, let me put it this way. To me, my understanding of self-realized person is that the person realizes his relationship with Krishna and serves Krishna. So when Avanti Brahmana indicates that he learned from these 24 things and became self-realized.
No, it's Avaduta, not Avanti Brahmana, it's Avaduta. Avanti Brahmana, that's later on. Yeah.
Did these 24 things help him realize that he has to serve Krishna and serve Krishna?
Yeah. So what's the question?
That's my question.
No, these 24 gurus, which we have been hearing, learning this earth, mountain, trees, mountain, sky, moons, and water, fire. So, because by learning, by studying their characteristics, is able to understand the science of the soul. So, one understands the science of the soul to be eternal. That one's actually self-realized soul. And one becomes self-realized by knowing the characteristic that the soul, when we are experiencing suffering, is because of our identification with the material body. Because that's why we're experiencing suffering in the material world. At the moment we become self-realized, the moment we understand our spiritual reality, then there'll be no more suffering. The suffering is finished. And it's at that point when we come to realize that, yes, we are not this material body, we are a spirit soul who's part of Krishna, who's a servant of Krishna. Then at that point, we begin eternal service to Krishna. Actually, devotional service to Krishna is at the stage of the liberation. It's called the Itwanta was Mokche, Itwanta Motan Swarupene Vivastite. That the stage of liberation is that stage when the living entity is situated in its original form. Swarup means original form. That original form is a spiritual. So when one is situated in that original form, spiritual form, then bhakti begins. Because bhakti cannot be done with material body. Bhakti can only be done only with spiritual body. So the self-relation must be there. And that's what the Brahmana, by studying the different characteristics of this various elements, then he come to be by applying this to himself. So it may become introspective. He start looking inwards. By looking inwards, then he's able to develop self-realization in terms of the qualities of tolerance, humility, being selfless, all these things. All these things need to be developed. Looks like you're performing some operation there. Like some operation is going on. Hare Krishna. Are you there? It's performing some. It's like it's a doctor performing some operation. And Krishna said, I think it must be.
We have Ganga Prasad Prabhu. Ganga Prasad Prabhu is also.
Okay, Ganga Prasad Prabhu. Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandava Pranama, glory to Guru and Goranga, glory to Slapopa. Am I audible?
Yeah, yes, you're audible.
Yes.
Some little bit breaking.
I'm having a little bit of curiosity that needs clarification. In devotional service, said there are 9 processes of devotion that starts with Shravanam, Kirtanam, like this. And in the end, it's mentioned that you can perfect in one or all of them, perfect in one or 2 or 3 or all of them. And you be liberated. In the same way, I'm taking this as a yardstick to question. In the 4 gurus, must you be able to assimilate and apply the instructions of these 24 gurus, or some of them will help you attain liberation?
Actually, all of them are required in order for us to become. How do we become? Because all these 24 guru is actually meant for us. How do we can actually become better devotees in terms of simplicity, in terms of humility, in terms of being sober, in terms of being selfless. So because devotional service is a quality. The devotee means a devotee has a quality, because the Nababhida Bhakti, the purpose of devotional service, it's not just done haphazardly, because as we are performing this quality also, then many of the, as perform this devotional service, the hearing or remembering, serving, all these things, as we are doing that, then those qualities begin to be developed. So those qualities begin to develop. So which means those qualities cannot be separated from the performance of devotional service. As mentioned, that a devotee is a devotee is a reservoir for qualities. And those qualities are considered to be the ornament of the devotees. Like in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Prabhu discussed the 24, is it 26 qualities of the devotees? Like being in metabolic, less eating, all those very qualities are there. When my Prabhu was teaching in Sanatana Goswami. So how do all those qualities develop? And that's why the Avadhuta Brahmana is showing how we are led from different entities, of how one become. Actually, by the time we go further into this, we're going to be learning more. This is all about bhakti. It's all about how to become, how one actually develop the real quality of devotees. Because a devotee, I mentioned that his character is very sublime. The only person you want to be with is with the devotees, because it's called Subha. Subha means sublime, very, 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 very auspicious to be with the devotees. But you cannot be someone who is very irritating. How you want to be with that? If a devotee is very irritating, you can't be with such a person. So therefore, a devotee have very, very sublime characteristics. And because a devotee has a very sublime characteristic, so therefore, you are ready to give your life to such a person. You're ready to give your life to such a person. But not everyone who calls themselves a devotee is a devotee. So that's why this, to know who's a devotee, so these characteristics have been described by the Avaduta Brahmana. It's been described. This and how has he developed all these characteristics? By learning from all these different gurus. See. So that's why we should, and so we should be really thoughtful by learning from this, when we are hearing from these gurus, and of course their acharyas also, they are giving their full commentaries on this teaching. You have to know this teaching is coming from Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna is teaching Uddhava. So why Lord Krishna is teaching Uddhava? So which means very, very important. So Lord Krishna is teaching Uddhava. This is giving is teaching Uddhava by presenting this analysis, which was given by the Avaduta Brahmana. And towards the end of these teachings, this is actually, it consists of 3 chapters of the Uddhava Gita. At the end of it, this Avaduta Brahmana tend to actually happen to be the incarnation of the Lord himself, Dattatreya, who actually came to teach Maharaj Yadu about the science of self-realization. So this will come to know this, towards the end of the description. I think there is a question there's a text, a chat. We have to get a list of these 24 gurus. You get them in Uddhava Gita. You have them in 11 Canto Bhagavatam. The list of them are there. Chapter 7 of the Bhagavatam 11th Canto, that's the Uddhava Gita, beginning. You will get their list. Again,
Yes,
when I say 24 gurus,
I'm aware that they are in the Canto of Bhagavatam, but my question is this. Will one start feeling guilty that he has not been able to acquire and exhibit these 24 qualities? That's the question. Is it that you must have all the 24 or you make do what you can apply?
No. All these things come by association. If you always having a positive association with advanced devotees, these qualities will develop. This comes by association. It's not that it's not something we have to be technically develop. It's not something we cannot fake it. It has to come naturally. It's not something we can just keep. I can't just say, oh, now, because I can see I'm sitting at a corner. Now I become, a self-realized sober devotee because I'm sitting at a corner. No, this must come naturally. It's an ornament that becomes one's characteristics, an ornament. When it says Goswami, when they were living in Vrindavan, all the Brijabasis, they would go to them with all their problems. And they were there to solve everybody's problems. Because everyone trusts them, everyone knows these are great personalities. Dira Jana Priya Karao, like that. So a devotee is basically known by his quality, by his characteristics. So therefore, how to develop these qualities? So therefore, Avaduta Brahmana is showing us by the various examples of who he has learned from. So we should start, let's say from today, we should start, thinking about all these things. Even Chaitanya Prabhu said that we should be humble like a tree. We should be tolerant, like a blade of grass, all these things. So which means we accept the grass as tree. And also we should be like the mountain who is not affected by anything. So, devotional characteristics is also been introspective, and that's why they say the devotee has to be he has to be grave, which means we talk less, we speak less, we talk less, we become grave. The less we talk, the most we focus on. Not that we should not talk just for the sake of talking. We have to, the gravity must be there, And then, so when we become grave, then we can start seeing things. We can start, observing things, and then we can learn from anything. You see, we can learn from anything. Our life as devotee should always be constant learning. We have to be disciple of all circumstance. You know, then that makes us. It's not that one day we are big devotees and everybody else is below us. No. There's not been such a time when we start feeling ourselves now we are not big devotees now, and everybody else is just below us. You know, Srila Raghunadas Goswami, he was here in Vrindavan. Such a great personality. He was Chaitanya Prabhu for 16 years. But when he came to Vrindavan, he was paying obeisances to everyone, at least 1,000 persons per day. That was his daily sadhana. He will make 1,000 obeisances per day, you know, as a daily practice, which means to everyone, it's not that he's only looking for everyone he sees, he will make his pranam to everyone he sees. You know. So of course, such devotees, they're very rare. Then we have to see, you know, try to follow their way, try to, you know, how you can try to apply, you know, some of those. So to develop devotional quality, we really have to work on it. We have to work on it. You know. And if you work on it, of course, we get the grace of the Lord. The Lord's grace will come upon us if you work on it.
Thank you, Prabhuji. I have picked from the answers. Association.
Mm-hmm.
The Avaduta got opportunity to associate very widely. We may have our limitations in terms of association, but that is one point big. Second point is we must learn in every circumstance. So what circumstance offers us to learn is we will learn. So the point is, what I'm making is, should we feel guilty that we have not learned so much? Given the fact that our circumstances vary, our dispositions also vary. But I've taken the answer, association, and let every circumstance be a teacher. You learn. By the grace of Krishna, these qualities will come because it's not by strength. It is by grace of Krishna. Thank you very much.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Yeah, of course, we should not feel guilty. We just have to work on it's not that we go keep going, oh, I'm falling. No, we have to really work on it. Of course, the realization that I'm falling should always be there within us. I'm so falling. That's why I'm here suffering in the material world, because I turned my back, you know, towards Krishna. So therefore I'm here. So our fallen nature will always be, you know, at the back of our mind, and that's why when we do that, so we have to apply all ammunitions, whatever it takes, to make us become the object of the Lord's mercy. So all those ammunition must be taken. Krishna, you know, is called Ajita, supreme independent. But Ajita become conquerable. They become conquerable by by his devotees, by his loving devotees. But Krishna does not give his independence to everyone. He doesn't. He does not just give it up. So, but when someone actually become a soul surrendered to Krishna, then Krishna reciprocates, of course. So this, surrendering process is a very, very deep thing. It's a very, very deep thing. So that's why we should be very, very in tune with the teachings of our Acharya. There are songs like Srila Bhakti Thakur, Srila Narottam Das Thakur. There are so many songs, especially Sharanagati of Srila Bhakti Thakur. We should be reading those prayers, and then we should sing, and then we should try to apply those prayers onto ourselves. Then that makes us someone who's fit for the Lord's mercy, the object of the Lord's mercy, like that. So we really have to work upon ourselves, basically. And I mean, of course, you want to feel guilty. There's nothing wrong feeling guilty. There's nothing wrong feeling that. It's okay. You feel guilty. Yeah, I'm falling. That's real. I'm falling. There's nothing wrong with that. And we should feel guilty that why am I falling? Because I turned my back towards Krishna, so therefore I'm falling. So we now have to turn my face back away, but to turn my face back away towards Krishna is not an easy thing. So therefore, I have to beg the devotees. I have to beg for the devotees' mercy. You know. Any other points? So it's a lot. We are learning. We are always in the Gurukul. Gurukul means the house of the Guru, where we are learning. We never stop learning. You know. I remember one time, I think I was traveling, I was in some country, and I went to some, this is a long time ago. And the household there, somebody was taking me, and I was removing my shoe. I removed my shoe, and the person behind me, he had water for me. So I was wondering, why is he giving me water to just remove my shoe? And then I realized that actually, anytime you touch your foot, you touch the shoe, you should always rinse your hand. You should always wash your hand anytime you touch your foot or you touch your shoe. You should always rinse your hand. So that time, so I learned something. I learned something from there. So this is how we learn things, by observing very, very many things around us. This is how we learn things like that. So the Vedic scriptures give us tremendous opportunity of learning on all our circumstances, so that we can become self-realized. Being a devotee of Krishna means becoming self-realized. So Lord Krishna tells Arjuna that yes, you have to learn, you have to observe, you have to learn the teachings, but you have to search after the absolute truth in all circumstances. And via vetri kabien in all circumstances, both direct and indirect means, both direct and indirect, must be learned to us. Okay.
So Sadeh, Prabhu's hand is still up. I don't know, maybe Prabhu Sadeh wants to ask more question. Prabhu, your hand is still up. You want to ask more question, Prabhu?
Yes. Yeah, I have one more question. Prabhu, hold on. You talked about the mountain, and we react and act based on our level of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Because a madman would drink dirty water and wouldn't feel anything wrong about it because of his consciousness. You and me wouldn't drink that water. So we know there are levels of consciousness. So the consciousness of a human being is different from that of a mountain. A mountain is a living entity. It also has consciousness, but its consciousness is very, very dull. And so for such a living entity to be able to tolerate anything and everything doesn't really match with somebody with very much developed consciousness. So my question is, how do we as people with higher levels of consciousness try to act like the mountains, become tolerant, not become bothered by what others do to us?
Well, so that's why you should learn like the mountain, which basically there for the benefit of all of us. Mountains, the trees, the earth, the idea for the benefit of everyone, even though people are doing so many nasty things to them. You can take a tree, you can uproot a tree and plant it somewhere else. The tree will not protest, So, and then the tree can still give you shade, can still give you fruit. Still, the tree will not protest. As similarly, also the tree is there, the mountain is there. That is the giving all the necessities of life. From the mountains, all the rivers come about. So you can see the very existence of the mountain is just to benefit living entities. That's the very existence of the mountains. So therefore, I mentioned that yes, a saintly person has to be like the mountain. A saintly person has to observe those characteristics. It's not that, oh, you are more such a higher consciousness than the mountain. No, that's a wrong example. Higher consciousness, we actually have the much developed reality of existence in terms of our spiritual reality. Following the example of trees or the mountains, which the Untitled Brahman is showing us, doesn't mean that because you are better that you are better than the mountain. So therefore, why should you be like the mountain? Why should you try to do good to others? No, you should do good to others. That's the saintly person, the great personalities. That's what they do. Their life is for the benefit of the others. So actually, mountains, they are also living entities. Mountains, there was a time when the mountains they used to fly at one time until Indra cut their wings and then they become situated in one place. So the mountains are also living entities. There's a Parvati, just like Parvati, the wife of Shiva, she's the daughter of the mountain, Parvati. So various entities, they occupy the bodies of mountain or they occupy the bodies of trees. But again, the development of our consciousness is how we can make our life so sublime as devotee. This is the science of bhakti, the science of how to become devotees. And this science is based on developing devotional qualities, tolerance, humility, all these things. Without these qualities, it's difficult to chant Krishna's name. My Prabhu said that. Unless you are tolerant than the tree, become more humble than the blade of grass, you are ready to offer respect to everyone, and without expecting respect in return to yourself. The Lord said you cannot chant the Lord's name. He said, Kitaniya Sadahari, how can you chant the Lord's name if you're not humble, if you're not tolerant, all these things. So these are the method of chanting. Because until we come to our own, until we realize how insignificant we are, we cannot call upon the Lord with feelings. We can't. So which means we have to realize our own insignificance. If you think we are somebody, then how can we call upon the Lord with feelings? It's not possible. So this is what the scripture is teaching us. This is what Bhagavatam is teaching us here. We become humble, we realize our insignificance, then we can call upon the Lord with feelings. When a child calls upon the mother, the parent, the child has no abhima, no particular sense of worthiness. He just calls upon, he feels totally dependent upon the parents. So therefore the child cries, I want this, I want that. And of course, then the parent run to the child, fulfill the child's desire. So we have to come to the same thing. Our unworthiness, we should feel that we are not worthy of anything. We should come to that platform. And when we read the biography of many Vaishnavas, we will come across this also. How many of those great Vaishnavas, how they actually lead their life. I'm actually in the process of compiling the biography of the Vaishnavas now. This is called a Bhaktamal. It's a very, very famous book in Vrindavan. We're in the process of compiling the book. Hopefully, the book will come out in the next maybe 6 months to a year. And I'll try to get some of them to Africa also. But, we have to learn from the others, other Vaishnavas, the great personalities of the past. We have to learn from them. We have to know about their life. And that's the reason why we are remembering today the disappearance of Srila Jiva Goswami. Because Srila Jiva Goswami, he lived a certain life. He wasn't just a great scholar. He had another characteristics which are there. So we are remembering him today. by hearing about these various characteristics. We hear these various, and that helps us to also become, for us to become better devotees. That helps us. I hope I'm able to satisfy you. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Okay.
Well, you did answer, but I already accept what you just said. But what I was trying to find out from you was if there is a technique or strategy that we are
The voice is breaking. The voice is breaking. I cannot hear.
No,
I can't hear anything. The voice is breaking.
The internet is breaking.
Yeah. Yeah, your connection is breaking.
Yes, Prabhu. So
well, maybe
thank you very much, Prabhu. I think Prabhu was just appreciating your comment. Prabhu, okay, he's back. Prabhu is back.
Can you hear me now?
Something? Yes.
Okay, sir.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So thank you. Thanks for your patience. What I was saying was I agreed to everything you said. I was just asking if there is a strategy or a technique by which we as humans can adapt to try to become as tolerant as beings like the tree or the mountain, because human beings and mountains are completely different. Human beings and mountains are completely different because of our ego. You know, if I say something crazy about you, you are a human being, you have a feeling, you feel offended or you will appreciate it. But the mountain is not going to feel it. If I said to the mountain that, look at this ugly mountain, the mountain is not going to feel that. But if I said it to a human being that, look at you, very ugly person, he's going to feel it. So that is why I was asking if there is a technique, a strategy that as human beings, especially as devotees, we can try to develop and not become affected, at least not become affected by what people do or say so easily. But my other question is that you were saying that we cannot practice bhakti yoga in this material body. If that is the case, then what are we doing? Because I believe Sri Prabhupada gave us bhakti yoga. What are we doing? Hare Krishna.
Okay, so your question is two. One is about developing the quality of tolerance, humility, and other by. Of course, again, Avedita Brahmana is giving you the practical method of doing that by just observing the method of those things. And also, of course, the best way, even I think Prabhu also hinted that yes, if we associate with advanced devotees, we will develop their qualities. And what is association of advanced devotees? By inquiring from them, by serving them, by observing their characteristics, and just being humble around them. Then this quality can be, can be developed. Again, as devotees, again, as this I already said that yes, we really have to realize our fallen nature, that we have to come to that particular understand that yes, we are fallen. Ego, we have to give false ego. If somebody abuse you, whatever, yes, so tolerate. What's the big deal? If somebody say, normally, actually, the pure devotees, they are never offended by anything. Because they're giving up the sense of I and mine. They give you the sense of, they have no ego. So therefore, how can they even be offended by somebody abuse them or not? So, again, your other question about what I said in terms of the material body not suitable for bhakti. Now, this is very advanced level of consciousness, of course, because actually when we say bhakti, bhakti means prem bhakti, which means loving devotional service to Krishna. Because material body, when there is a prem bhakti, there is an ecstasy that comes along with it. There is a bhav that comes along with it. And material body, it's unable to sustain it, cannot really accommodate it. So bhakti we are practicing now is called Vaidhi Bhakti, which means the rules and regulations, which we are doing. Follow, wake up in the morning, charge your 16 rand, whatever it is, associate, use devotions. That's just Vaidhi Bhakti. But that we have to do until that stage, when we come to that high platform of whereby you are not offering food to Krishna because you are taught to do it. You're actually offering food to Krishna out of intense bhav that is coming from your heart. That level is not ordinary level, and that level is beyond rules and regulations. It's beyond rules and regulations. So that's a very, 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 very advanced stage. So actually, they said Bhakti, Bhakta, and Bhagavan do not belong to the material world. It's only belong only to the spiritual world. It's actively the spiritual